My husband left me after 6 miscarriages. Then he called me fat. But what happened after that? It nearly destroyed me. And then it rebuilt me into something he never saw coming. Hey, let me tell you something. I'm about to share a story with you that I've been holding onto for years. It's mine, every word of it. And if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever had your body betray you, and then had the person who promised to love you through anything walk away, well, you're going to want to hear this. My name is Bernadette. I'm 50 years old, and this is the story of how I lost everything and then found myself. Before we get into it, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you're going to want to follow this journey all the way through. Now, let me take you back. I met Calvin when I was 28. He was 32, worked in finance, had that clean-cut look that made my mama smile when I brought him home for Sunday dinner. You know the type. Pressed shirts, good shoes. Talked about investments and 5-year plans. Bernie, he said on our third date, reaching across the table at Ruth's Chris, I want 4 kids, maybe 5. I want a full house. I want what my parents had. I remember smiling, thinking this man knows what he wants, thinking this is a man with a plan. I wanted children too, always had. Used to babysit all the neighborhood kids growing up in Detroit, would come home smelling like baby powder and applesauce, and I loved it. So when Calvin said he wanted a big family, something in me just settled, like puzzle pieces clicking into place. We got married 10 months later. I was 29. Wore my grandmother's pearls, had my cousin Shanice do my hair. She put in these tiny braids with gold thread woven through them. I felt beautiful. Calvin looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. On our wedding night, he whispered, we're going to build something beautiful. Bernie, you and me. I believed him. We started trying right away. And let me tell you, everybody has an opinion about your womb when you're a black woman trying to have a baby. My mama, don't stress yourself. It'll happen when God wants it to happen. Calvin's mama, Sylvia, you eating right? You know, these young women today don't eat enough greens. Baby needs iron. My sister Denise, girl, just relax. You're probably trying too hard. My coworker Janet, have you tried elevating your hips after? My cousin swears by it. Everybody had something to say. Nobody said, are you okay? The first pregnancy happened 3 months after the wedding. I took the test in the bathroom at work, saw those 2 pink lines, and I swear I nearly screamed. Instead, I just sat there on that toilet seat, shaking, holding this little plastic stick like it was made of gold. I told Calvin that night, made his favorite, smothered pork chops, collard greens, mac and cheese. Had the test wrapped in a little box with a bow. He opened it, stared at it. Then he picked me up and spun me around our little kitchen, both of us laughing, crying, talking about names and nurseries and whether we'd need a bigger place. We're going to be parents. Bernie, he kept saying, we're actually going to be parents. I was 8 weeks along when I started bleeding. It was a Tuesday morning. I was getting ready for work, and I felt it, that wetness, that wrong feeling. I went to the bathroom and saw red, not a little spotting, real blood. I called Calvin at work. My voice came out small. Something's wrong. He met me at the hospital, held my hand while the doctor did the ultrasound. I watched the screen, searching for a heartbeat, for movement, for anything. The doctor's face told me everything before her mouth did. I'm sorry, Mrs. Thompson. There's no heartbeat. These things happen, especially with first pregnancies. It doesn't mean. I stopped listening, just stared at that gray screen, at the empty space where my baby should have been. Calvin drove me home, helped me into bed, brought me water and Tylenol, and sat beside me while I cried. It's okay, baby. he said, rubbing my back. We'll try again. The doctor said it's common. We'll try again. And we did. Second pregnancy came 4 months later. Made it to 10 weeks that time. Lost it on a Saturday morning while Calvin was at a golf tournament with clients. I called him. He said he'd come home. He didn't. He came home 6 hours later, smelling like cigar smoke and beer, and found me on the bathroom floor. Why didn't you go to the hospital? He asked. I called you. I said. He sighed. Bernie, I told you I was closing a big deal. You could have called an ambulance. Third pregnancy, 12 weeks. Lost it the day after Thanksgiving. My whole family was still in town. I bled through my pajamas at my mama's house. Had to have Denise drive me to the ER while Calvin stayed behind to clean up from dinner. Fourth pregnancy, 9 weeks. Valentine's Day. Fifth pregnancy, 11 weeks. Lost it during Calvin's work trip to Miami. He called me from the hotel bar. I could hear music and laughter in the background while I told him our baby was gone again. Jesus, Bernie, he said, again. Like it was something I was doing to him. Sixth pregnancy, 14 weeks. The longest one. I'd started to hope, started to breathe, started to think maybe, just maybe, this one would stick. Lost it on a Wednesday afternoon. I was 34 years old. We'd been trying for 5 years. At the hospital, a different doctor this time. Young, white, looked tired. She said, Mrs. Thompson, have you considered that maybe your body just isn't meant to carry a pregnancy to term? I looked at her, at this woman who probably went home to her own healthy children every night, and I said, my body is meant to do whatever I tell it to do. But driving home alone, Calvin was stuck in a meeting. I wondered if she was right. If my body had failed me, if I was broken in some fundamental way. That night, Calvin came home late, found me on the couch, still in my hospital bracelet. He sat down, didn't touch me, just sat there, staring at the TV I hadn't even turned on. Bernie, he said finally, I don't think I can do this anymore. I waited, didn't breathe. Every time you get pregnant, I get my hopes up, and every time it's the same thing. I can't keep going through this. I'm going through it too, I said quietly. I know, but he rubbed his face. Maybe we should just accept that we're not going to have kids. Maybe we should just move on. Move on. Like our babies were bad investments. Like grief was something you could just decide to stop feeling. I think I need some space, he said. He moved into the guest room that night. You know what nobody tells you about grief? It has weight, physical weight. After that 6th miscarriage, I could feel it pressing on my chest every morning when I woke up. Some days I could barely get out of bed. I started eating, not like before, not normal eating. I'm talking about 2 a.m. trips to the kitchen, entire sleeves of Oreos, ordering Chinese food, and eating all of it, crying while I did it, hating myself, unable to stop. Food was the only thing that felt good, the only thing that didn't hurt. I gained 30 pounds in 4 months, then 20 more, then another 15. My clothes stopped fitting. I stopped looking in mirrors. Calvin stopped looking at me altogether. He'd come home from work, change clothes, go to the gym, come back, shower, eat the dinner I'd made, because I still cooked for him, still tried to be a good wife, and then disappear into his office or the guest room. We were roommates, strangers. My friend, Rochelle, tried to talk to me. Bernie, you need to get some help. See a therapist. Something. This isn't healthy. I'm fine, I said. You're not fine. And Calvin. Girl, I don't want to speak out of turn, but then don't, I said. She didn't bring it up again. My mama called every Sunday. Baby, why don't you come home for a visit? Just for a weekend. Get away from that house. I'm okay, Mama. Bernadette. That's how I knew she was serious. full government name. Bernadette, I'm your mother. I know when you're not okay. That man. Mama, I have to go. I'll call you later. I didn't call her later. I was drowning, and I didn't want anyone to save me because I thought I deserved to drown. If you're still with me, go ahead and hit that like button. Comment and let me know if you've ever felt invisible in your own life. Because that's where I was. Completely invisible. It happened on a Thursday night. Calvin came home from work, later than usual, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine, and found me in the kitchen. I was making chicken and dumplings, one of his favorites, even though he barely ate my cooking anymore. I heard him come in, heard him stop in the doorway. Bernie, he said. I turned around, smiled, tried to look like a wife who wasn't falling apart. He wasn't looking at my face. He was looking at my body, at the way my jeans cut into my waist, at my arms in my t-shirt, at all of me, and his face. God, his face had this look. Disgust. That's the only word for it. You've really let yourself go, he said. I just stood there, wooden spoon in my hand, chicken and dumplings bubbling on the stove. I mean, Jesus, Bernie, look at yourself. When's the last time you even tried? Tried what? My voice came out smaller than I wanted. To look decent. To take care of yourself. You used to be beautiful. Now, you're just... He gestured at me. Fat. That word hung in the air between us. Fat. Not grieving. Not depressed. Not suffering through the worst pain of her life. Fat. I started... What? Eating your feelings? Yeah, I noticed. He laughed. Actually laughed. 6 pregnancies couldn't stick, but apparently Oreos can. I felt something crack inside my chest. Something that had been holding me together. Holding me up, keeping me alive. It just cracked. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my kitchen. Get out of my sight. Get out. Bernie. Now. I screamed it. Through the wooden spoon. It hit the wall beside his head, splattered dumpling broth everywhere. He stared at me. Then he turned and walked away. I heard him in the bedroom, heard drawers opening and closing, heard the zipper of a suitcase. He came back through the kitchen 20 minutes later. 2 suitcases. His work bag. I'm staying at a hotel. He said, I'll have my lawyer contact you. His lawyer. Just like that. 15 years of marriage. 6 dead babies. And he was calling his lawyer. Calvin, I said. My voice was steady now. Cold. Do you even remember their names? He stopped. What? The babies. Do you remember what we were going to name them? He shifted his weight. Looked away. Bernie, they weren't. Say it. Say they weren't real to you. I didn't mean. Get out. He left. I stood in that kitchen, my kitchen, the kitchen where I'd cooked thousands of meals for a man who just called me fat and walked away. And I didn't cry. I was done crying. The divorce papers came 2 weeks later, delivered by a courier in a manila envelope. Very professional. Very clean. Calvin wanted the house. Wanted his 401k untouched. Wanted to split everything 50-50 except for the things that mattered to him. Those he wanted to keep. I called Rochelle. I need a lawyer. I said, about damn time. She said, I know someone. Her name is Patricia Okonkwo. She's a shark. You want me to call her? Yes. Patricia was 55, Nigerian, and took exactly 0 shit from anyone. She came to my house that Saturday morning, sat at my kitchen table, read through Calvin's proposed settlement, and then looked at me with these sharp, dark eyes. He thinks you're stupid, she said. Excuse me? Your husband, he thinks you're stupid. This settlement, it's garbage. You'd get nothing. Meanwhile, he walks away with everything. I just want it over with. I said, no. Patricia's voice was firm. You want what you're owed. You put 15 years into this marriage. You went through 6 miscarriages. You held down a job while he built his career. You don't get to walk away with nothing just because he's tired of you. She said it so matter-of-factly. Tired of you. Like that's what it was. Simple. True. Bernadette, she said, her voice softer now. How much do you know about your husband's finances? He handles all that. Does he have accounts you don't know about? I don't think so. He's always been very organized, transparent. Patricia made a note. We'll see about that. I'm going to need access to all your financial records, bank statements, tax returns, credit card statements, everything. Okay. And Bernadette, she looked at me. You need to take care of yourself. Not for him, for you, because this is going to be a fight, and you need to be strong. I nodded, but I didn't believe I could be strong. Not anymore. Patricia was thorough. She was also right. 3 weeks into the divorce proceedings, she called me, Bernadette, you need to come to my office. Now, I drove there in a daze. Found her behind her desk, papers spread everywhere. Her face grim. Sit down, she said. I sat. Your husband has been hiding money. What? Account in the Cayman Islands. Set up 8 years ago. He's been funneling money into it. Not a lot at once, but consistently. There's approximately $473,000 in it. I couldn't breathe. 400. And that's not all. Patricia slid a paper across the desk. He's been paying rent on an apartment in Buckhead for the last 2 years. Same building where his colleague Vanessa Mitchell lives, who coincidentally just had a baby 6 months ago. The room tilted. A baby, I repeated, a daughter, named Claire, according to the birth certificate I obtained. Father is listed as Calvin Thompson. 6 months ago, while I was still grieving our 6th loss, while I was drowning in depression and weight gain and self-hatred, Calvin was becoming a father. With someone else. The baby that stuck wasn't mine. I whispered. Patricia's face softened. I'm sorry, Bernadette. I know this is... How long? I asked. How long has he been with her? Based on the rent payments and some credit card charges, I found dinners, jewelry, trips, at least 3 years. Maybe longer. 3 years. During my 4th, 5th, and 6th pregnancies. While I was losing our children, he was making one with her. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the Atlanta skyline. All those buildings where people were living normal lives, where women weren't being betrayed by the men who promised to love them. What do we do? I asked. We take him for everything he's got, Patricia said, and we make sure he never sees this coming. Pause here for a second. If this story is hitting home, leave a comment. Tell me you're here. Tell me you're listening. Because what comes next, trust me, you won't believe it. Patricia laid it out for me. We don't let him know we know about Vanessa or the baby or the offshore account. Not yet. We let him think he's winning. We let him think you're just a sad, broken woman who's going to roll over and accept his garbage settlement. Why? Because when you're building a case, surprise is your best weapon. We gather everything. We document everything. And then, at exactly the right moment, we show our cards. When, at the settlement conference, in front of the mediator and his lawyer, we let him walk in thinking it's just a formality, and then we bury him. I liked the sound of that. Over the next 6 weeks, Patricia and her team worked. They found 2 more hidden accounts, proof that Calvin had been underreporting his income for years, documentation of gifts he'd bought Vanessa, jewelry, a car, designer handbags, all purchased with marital funds, text messages he'd been stupid enough not to delete from an old iPad, photos of him with Vanessa and the baby. Every piece of evidence felt like a knife. But I didn't cry, didn't break down. I was beyond that now. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in years. I took care of myself, started small, walked to the end of my driveway and back. Just that. Felt like running a marathon that first day. Did it again the next day. And the next. Added more distance each week. I called a therapist, Dr. Sharon Williams. Black woman, 50s kind eyes. She didn't try to fix me, just gave me space to break down properly, to grieve properly, to rage properly. Your husband betrayed you, she said in our third session, but before that, you betrayed yourself. You made your worth about your womb, about your weight, about whether you could make him happy. What about you, Bernadette? What makes you happy? I didn't have an answer. Then that's where we start, she said. I started painting. Hadn't painted since college, but I bought cheap acrylics and canvases from Michael's and just painted. Ugly stuff at first. Dark colors. Angry brush strokes. Then slowly other colors crept in. Blues. Golds. Green. I joined a gym. Not to lose weight. Not at first, but because I needed to hit something. Found a kickboxing class. The instructor, Monica, was this tiny Filipino woman who could kick like a mule. Put everything into it. She'd yell, all your anger, all your pain, right into that bag. I did. God, I did. The weight started coming off. Not fast, not like those commercials promise, but steady, 10 pounds, then 20, then 30. But something else was happening too. I was getting stronger, not just physically, mentally, emotionally. I was becoming someone I'd never been before. Someone who didn't need Calvin's approval. Someone who didn't measure her worth in pregnancies or pounds. Someone who was angry, yes, but also alive. My mama noticed first. She came to visit, stood in my doorway, and just stared. Bernadette, she said, baby, you're glowing. It's sweat, Mama. I just got back from the gym. No, she shook her head. It's something else. You look like yourself again. I didn't tell her I'd never been this version of myself before. That this woman, this strong, angry, determined woman, was brand new. The settlement conference was scheduled for a Tuesday in October. Almost 7 months since Calvin had left. Patricia called me the night before. Are you ready? She asked. Yes. Remember, let me do the talking. Don't react, no matter what he says or how he looks at you. We're in control here, not him. Okay. Bernadette, you've got this. I showed up wearing a dress I'd bought the week before. Navy blue, fitted but not tight. Professional. Paired it with my grandmother's pearls and heels that made me 3 inches taller. I'd lost 65 pounds. My hair was natural now. I'd cut off all the relaxer and let my curls free. I'd been in therapy for 5 months. Been painting. Been kickboxing. Been becoming. Calvin was already in the conference room when I walked in. He looked up and I watched his face change. Shock. Then something else. Recognition, maybe, of what he'd thrown away. He'd gained weight. Not a lot, but enough. Looked tired. Older. Vanessa wasn't there. Of course not. She was probably at home with their daughter. With Claire. The baby that stuck. The mediator, a white man in his 60s named Mr. Brennan, cleared his throat. Shall we begin? Calvin's lawyer, some slick-looking guy named Jordan, slid papers across the table. We believe this is a fair and equitable division of assets. Mrs. Thompson gets the house, her vehicle, and half of the accessible savings. Mr. Thompson retains his retirement accounts, and... No, Patricia said calmly. Jordan blinked. Excuse me? We're not accepting this offer. In fact, we have a counteroffer. She opened her briefcase, pulled out a thick folder. But first, I think we need to discuss Mr. Thompson's complete financial picture. The complete picture. I watched Calvin's face. watched the color drain from it. I don't know what he started. Patricia slid the first document across the table. Bank statements from the Cayman account. $473,000, she said. Hidden from your wife for 8 years. Jordan picked up the statement, his own face going pale. Calvin's mouth opened. Closed. Patricia wasn't done. She slid more papers. Rent receipts for an apartment in Buckhead, paid for with marital funds. The same building where Ms. Vanessa Mitchell resides. This is, Calvin started, birth certificate for Claire Thompson, born March 15th of this year. Father listed as Calvin Thompson. Mother listed as Vanessa Mitchell. The room went silent. Credit card statements showing purchases of jewelry, designer items, and a vehicle, a 2024 Mercedes E-Class, all for Ms. Mitchell. All charged to credit cards that were supposedly for business expenses. Patricia stacked the papers neatly. Shall I continue, or would you like to hear our actual demands? Mr. Brennan looked at Calvin with something like disgust. Mr. Thompson, is this information accurate? Calvin's lawyer was frantically flipping through the documents. Calvin himself just sat there, frozen. Yes or no, Mr. Thompson, the mediator pressed. Yes, but... Then I think we need to hear Mrs. Thompson's counteroffer, Mr. Brennan said. Patricia smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Mrs. Thompson wants the house fully paid off. Mr. Thompson will cover the remaining mortgage. She wants 70% of all retirement accounts. She wants the entire Cayman account. She wants spousal support of $5,000 per month for 10 years. And she wants Mr. Thompson to cover all her legal fees. That's ridiculous. Jordan sputtered. You can't. We can. And we will. Because if Mr. Thompson doesn't agree to these terms, we'll be filing an amended complaint that includes fraud, hiding of marital assets, and adultery. We'll make sure every detail of Mr. Thompson's affair and his secret child and his hidden money becomes part of the public record. We'll notify the IRS about his unreported offshore accounts. And we'll make sure his employer knows exactly how he's been conducting his personal life. Calvin found his voice. You can't do this, Bernie. This is... I spoke for the first time. Say my name right. He stopped. It's Bernadette, not Bernie. You lost the right to diminutives when you called me fat and walked out. Bernadette, please, be reasonable. This is too much. I can't. You can't. I leaned forward. You couldn't stay faithful. Couldn't support me through 6 miscarriages. Couldn't see past my weight to the woman who loved you. But I'm supposed to be reasonable. I made mistakes, he said. No, a mistake is forgetting to buy milk. What you did was a choice. Multiple choices. Years of choices. Mr. Brennan cleared his throat. Mr. Thompson, I strongly suggest you consider this offer. Because from where I'm sitting, Mrs. Thompson is being remarkably generous. She could take you for far more. Calvin looked at his lawyer. Jordan nodded slowly. Fine, Calvin said. His voice was flat. Dead. Fine. I'll agree. Excellent, Patricia said. We'll have the paperwork drawn up by the end of the week. The divorce was final 6 weeks later. I got everything Patricia asked for. The house, the money, the spousal support. But that's not what made me feel whole. What made me feel whole was standing in my kitchen, the day after the papers were signed, making myself breakfast, eating it slowly, tasting it, and realizing I was happy. Actually happy. Not because Calvin was gone, though that helped. Not because I'd won, though I had. But because I'd found myself. The real Bernadette. Not the woman who measured her worth in babies or pounds or husbands. Just me. My mama came over that weekend, sat at my kitchen table while I made us tea. Baby, she said, I'm proud of you for taking him to court, for taking yourself back. I sat down across from her. You knew, didn't you, that he was cheating? She sighed. I suspected. That last year, when you'd call and I'd ask about him, you'd change the subject. And when a woman stops talking about her man, either she's too happy or too unhappy. You didn't sound happy. Why didn't you say anything? Because you weren't ready to hear it. And because some things, baby girl, you have to figure out on your own. She reached across the table, took my hand. But you did. You figured it out. You stood up. You fought back. I almost didn't. I admitted. I almost just signed whatever he wanted. Almost let him have it all. But you didn't. No, I didn't. A year after the divorce was finalized, I threw myself a party. Not a big thing. Just some friends. Rochelle, Dr. Sharon, Monica from kickboxing, Patricia, my mama, Denise, a few other women I'd met along the way. We gathered in my backyard. I'd had it landscaped, put in a garden, and we ate food I'd cooked myself, and we laughed. Rochelle cornered me by the grill. Okay, so I have to ask, are you dating? No. Bernie Bernadette, you're 50, not dead. And girl, you look amazing. Thank you. But no, I'm not dating. Why not? I thought about it. Because I'm still getting to know myself. And I like her too much to share her right now. Rochelle laughed. Okay, I can respect that. Later, Monica asked me if I'd ever thought about teaching. Teaching what? Kickboxing. You're good. Really good. And I've seen the way you work with the new women. You have a gift for it. I don't know. I've never taught anything. Think about it, she said. The world needs more women teaching other women how to fight back. I did think about it. And 6 months later, I was certified. Started teaching a class on Thursday nights. Called it Fight Back. The women who came were all ages, all backgrounds. Some were going through divorces. Some were grieving. Some just needed to hit something. I got it. I got all of them. I ran into Calvin at the grocery store. 2 years after the divorce. I was in the produce section picking through avocados when I heard Bernadette. I turned. There he was, looking older now, grayer, tired. Calvin, I said evenly, you look, wow, you look great. Thank you. Awkward silence. How have you been? He asked. Good. Really good, actually. You. He shifted his weight. Okay. Things are there okay. And Vanessa? Claire. He flinched at the names. Vanessa left. Took Claire. Moved to California with some guy she met online. I should have felt satisfaction. Schadenfreude. Something. Instead, I just felt nothing. No, not nothing. Pity, maybe, for this man who'd thrown away something real for something shiny and new, only to lose that too. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. Are you? He laughed bitterly. After everything I did to you? Yes, because I know what it's like to lose a child, even if it's not through death. His eyes watered. Bernadette, I'm sorry. For all of it. For not being there during the miscarriages. For the things I said. For cheating. For all of it. I was selfish and stupid and... Calvin, I interrupted gently. I forgive you. He stared at me. I forgive you because holding on to anger was killing me. Not you. Me. So I'm letting it go. Not for you. For me. Do you? He swallowed. Do you think we could ever? No, I said firmly. That part of my life is over. But I hope you figure out yours. I really do. I walked away, left him standing there by the organic bananas, and I felt light, free. I'm 52 now, teaching kickboxing 4 nights a week. I've taken up pottery. Turns out I'm terrible at it, but it's fun. I travel when I want to. I have plants that I actually keep alive. I have friends who know the real me. Last month, one of my kickboxing students, a woman named Trinity, going through her own divorce, stayed after class. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course." "How did you do it? How did you get through it?" I thought about her question, really thought about it. I stopped waiting for someone else to save me. I said, "Finally!" I stopped believing my worth came from whether I could have babies or whether my husband wanted me or whether I fit into a certain size jeans. I started believing I was enough just as I was. That's it. That's it. That's everything. She nodded slowly. "Thank you. You're going to be okay. Trinity. Better than okay. Trust me." She smiled. I'm starting to believe that. So, that's my story. The story of how my body failed me, then my husband did. And then I rebuilt myself from the ground up. I never had children. That's still a grief I carry sometimes on quiet days when I see mothers with daughters and wonder what might have been. But I also know this. I became someone those babies would have been proud of. Someone strong. Someone who doesn't take shit from anyone. Someone who knows her worth. And that's not nothing. That's everything. If you made it all the way through this, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave a comment and let me know your story, because I promise you, you have one. We all do. And remember, you are not what happened to you. You are not your worst day, or your biggest failure, or your deepest grief. You are what you choose to become after all of that. Choose to become yourself. Trust me, she's worth it.